What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to give you every single NFL stat leader for the 2021 NFL season. These are my predictions and projections for who will lead every major NFL stat this season. Before I give you the crystal ball and tell you who will lead every single stat in the NFL this season, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more BLV NFL videos just like this, and get in that comments and let me know, who do you think is going to lead every stat in football? Let's roll. Kicking it off with the quarterbacks, the passers in the NFL with passing yards. I think this one is actually pretty obvious. I believe it will be Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen should lead the NFL in passing yards this year. The Buffalo Bills are one of the highest volume passing attacks in the NFL, and they will rely a ton on number 17 to deliver, and to deliver often. I believe they will give Josh Allen 40 plus attempts a game to dice up opposing defenses. There's also the fact that the Bills don't exactly have an upper echelon defense. They don't exactly have an upper echelon rushing attack. They have Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabe Davis, plenty of wide receivers to go to and to throw to. I believe Josh Allen is going to take his game to the next level and put this team on his back, passing for a lot of yards. Tom Brady will throw for the most passing touchdowns in 2021. Tom Brady is on probably the best team in the NFL. I don't think, for me at least, it's much of a debate. This season, I believe the Bucs will be very strong, and I think they're going to hit their stride right away this season offensively. There's going to be no bumps in the road. There's going to be nothing holding back this Bucs incredible talent offensively from just putting up absolutely astronomical numbers. And I believe that all begins and ends with number 12, TB12 himself, Tom Brady. I think he throws for probably the most touchdowns in the league. The question is, how many? 40, 45, 50? Can he do it? If anyone can, it's Tom Brady. Dalvin Cook will lead the NFL in rushing yards. I think Dalvin Cook is in a great situation. They're an awesome rushing attack. The offensive line a year ago created the most adjusted line yards in the NFL. Dalvin Cook has been one of the best backs in the league for the last 2 to 3 seasons, really since he's entered the league. And he is, to me, one of the most explosive runners in football, where even if he isn't having a great game, just 1 or 2 runs can completely change a football game and change his statistical outlook for that game. You need that type of runner, similarly to Derrick Henry. I don't think Derrick Henry hits 2,000 again, like some other people think. I think it's going to be a different rushing leader, and I believe it will be the Minnesota Vikings' Dalvin Cook. The Vikings, not only do they rely on Dalvin Cook, not only are they a run-first offense, not only are they a productive offense, but they are a decent team who I believe will be approaching double-digit wins this year and will have the lead. Last year, a lot of the times, Dalvin Cook was rushing for a lot of yards, but he wasn't put in advantageous positions where he was in the lead and he was just grinding out the clock, gaining those extra carries at the end of games like a Derrick Henry. I believe that will be the case this year, and Dalvin Cook will lead the NFL in rushing yards. The rushing touchdowns category is kind of a complete wild card because touchdowns are so hard to predict, but I'm looking at a great offense, and I'm looking at a running back who sees a lot of goal line carries. And to me, that man is Ezekiel Elliott. I think Zeke will have a bounce back year this year in Dallas. I think the Cowboys will have a top 5 scoring offense this year. Their defense isn't great, which means they'll have to put up points in bunches to compete and to win. And I think Ezekiel Elliott will be absolutely essential to them winning football games. They love to give him the ball at the goal line, at the 5-yard line, anywhere in the red zone. And I believe that means Ezekiel Elliott is going to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. The guy is very, very good at picking up short yardage, and he'll show that this year, leading the NFL in tutties. Now to the receivers. Receptions. Who will lead the NFL in catches? This one's tough. You could go a lot of different directions here with really any elite receiver in a high volume passing attack that you wish. For me, somebody that stood out to me all offseason as a breakout wide receiver to take that next step into just upper echelon, elite status, top 5, that's Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is always open. I'm telling you, this guy, nobody just gets me going more when he's running routes than Calvin Ridley. The man is smoother than a baby's bottom. I'm telling you that much. This guy is absolutely incredible running routes, and that means you're good at creating separation, and that means you'll gain the trust of your quarterback, and that means you're going to catch a lot of passes. So you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they have a bad defense, which means they're going to be coming from behind in a lot of games. Calvin Ridley will not only have the benefit of catching passes early, but catching passes late. They don't really have a lot of options outside of Calvin Ridley. Their second option is a rookie tight end. Ridley proved last year, don't be worried that he doesn't have Julio to draw away attention, because he proved last year that even without Julio, he can be productive. I think he'll prove it again in 2021. Receiving yards. Who will put up the most yards through the air? Now, this very well could also be Calvin Ridley, as a lot of times the guy that catches the most passes has the most yards. That's kind of just common sense. But here I'm going to go in a different direction. I look at the NFC North and I say the Vikings don't have great corners, the Lions don't have great corners, and the Bears don't have great corners. Who plays in Green Bay? That is Davante Adams. I believe Davante Adams will lead the NFL in receiving yards. Not that him playing bad corners actually even matters, because he pretty much gets open on anybody, but it definitely helps that he can put up 100 yards in every one of his divisional games. Aaron Rodgers, this is the last dance for the Packers. He's going to be targeting his man, his go-to guy, early and often. Davante Adams was an absolute monster last year, and I see the same player playing in 2021 and producing. So I'm going to go with Davante to lead the NFL in receiving yards. Receiving touchdowns. Who's going to catch the most tutties this year? In my opinion, that man will be Mike Evans. Now, Mike Evans had double-digit touchdowns last year. If I'm not mistaken, I think the number was 13. I could be wrong there. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Mike Evans is just a target monster in the red zone. Now, a lot of people, in terms of fantasy, are concerned about his targets from 20 to 20, but I'm not concerned about his targets once we enter the red zone. As I suggested, and as I believe, Tom Brady will lead the NFL in passing touchdowns, which means there's going to be one player catching a lot of touchdowns, because that's just the way it works. Now, you could say that they have so many weapons that they're going to really divide it up evenly amongst all the receivers, but oftentimes, Tom Brady has one receiver who catches a lot of his touchdowns. Randy Moss, Rob Gronkowski. In this case, I think it will be Mike Evans. Mike Evans caught the most last year. I see an uptick for Brady. I see an uptick for Evans. I think Evans is going to catch anywhere from 15 to 20 touchdowns this year. I really think it's going to be a big year for Mike Evans in the red zone. They're going to score a lot of points, and I think Mike Evans will be the main recipient for that. He also has been rumored from Bucs reporters to be having maybe his best camp of his career. So if he can take that into this season, I think he'll catch a lot of touchdowns. So maybe Mike Evans doesn't have a bunch of yards like he typically does, but expect the touchdowns to arrive. Now let's move to the defensive side of the football, starting off with the pass rushers. The sacks. Here I'm going to get a little bit boring on you. I'm going to go with Myles Garrett. All right, Myles Garrett is somebody that plays on the Cleveland Browns. He plays on a very good team. He plays on a team that's going to be leading a lot of games. He plays on a team that likes to run the ball at the end of games. And when teams are in catch-up mode, Myles Garrett is going to feast. Not only is he going to feast then, but he's going to feast all over the place. I think adding Jadeveon Clowney certainly helps. the presence on the other side of the ball, and just the overall, I think, uptick in coverage from the Browns, holding that extra millisecond for Myles Garrett to get to the quarterback is going to help Myles Garrett sack more quarterbacks. I'm going to say 15 plus sacks this year, maybe even approaching 20 sacks. I think the perfect storm is there this year for Myles Garrett to put up a ton of sacks, and I think he's going to lead the NFL in sacks this season. Also, you have to look at the AFC North. They don't really have great tackle play, right? The Bengals, they certainly don't. The Steelers, they definitely do not. And the Ravens don't really even have great tackle play. At least Villanueva is certainly older, and he could take advantage of him. So I feel like it's Garrett's season to really put a stamp on, I'm the best edge player in football. The interceptions. Who's going to catch the most interceptions this season? The final statistical category that I will predict. I'm going to go with J.C. Jackson. Now, this one's tough. You really can't predict interceptions, but I thought about defenses that were going to be good this year. J.C. Jackson has consistently been a ball magnet, and it might hurt him that Stephon Gilmore is out with an injury for the first few weeks. But then again, he put up a lot of interceptions last year, even without Stephon Gilmore, so maybe it won't hurt him. But they're definitely going to be targeting him because he's going to be covering the number one guy for those first 6 weeks, so he'll have plenty of opportunities to do so. He's just so good with his ball skills. He just reads a quarterback very well. He's very instinctual. He is a baller in this league, and I feel like those guys constantly are at the top of the list, whether that's Howard, JC, Marcus Peters. These guys are always at the top of interception lists for a reason, and I believe this year will be JC's year to lead it. You also look at the Patriots improving their pass rush, which means maybe a big tip ball in the air, maybe an extra hit on the arm causes an interception for J.C. Jackson. Pressure equals mistakes. That will help J.C. catch more picks, and I think he'll lead the NFL in interceptions. If I had to guess, maybe 8, maybe 7, somewhere in that range. But those are my predictions for every stat category this year. Make sure you let me know in the comments who you think will lead the NFL in passing, receiving, rushing, sacks, interceptions. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button and subscribe for more NFL on the BLV. Peace.